Welcome to Lucerne, Switzerland, a city that feels like it belongs in a storybook. Nestled between the calm waters of Lake Lucerne and the towering Swiss Alps, this place has inspired travelers, artists, and writers for centuries. Today, we'll spend a day wandering through the lakefront, crossing one of the world's most iconic wooden bridges, exploring the hidden courtyards of the old town, and finishing our journey at one of the most moving monuments in Europe. So, let's begin our walk. As we start along the lake promenade, notice how still the water is, like a giant mirror reflecting the snow-capped peaks. The lake's official name is Vierwaldstättersee, the lake of the four forested cantons, and it has been central to Swiss history for over 700 years. It was on these shores that the Swiss Confederation was born in the 13th century, when the cantons of Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden swore an oath of mutual support. Today, this lake is not only a symbol of unity, but also a gateway to leisure and beauty. Lucerne's lakeside promenade has long been a magnet for the elite. In the 19th century, it was part of the so-called Grand Tour of Europe, when young aristocrats would travel to Switzerland to study culture and enjoy the fresh alpine air. Queen Victoria herself stayed here in 1868, mourning the death of her husband, Prince Albert. She found comfort in the tranquility of the lake and the dramatic mountains surrounding it. As we walk, you'll see grand hotels, many dating back to the Belle Epoque. Their ornate facades and elegant balconies remind us of a time when travel was slow and luxurious, when visitors would spend entire summers by the lake. One of the most famous guests was the American writer Mark Twain, who spent several weeks here in the 1870s. He humorously described his attempts to climb nearby Mount Rigi, but he also praised Lucerne's beauty, calling the view of the lake and mountains a picture that can never be painted, a memory that can never fade. Look toward the horizon, and you may spot the distinctive shape of Mount Pilatus. Rising nearly 2,100 meters, it dominates Lucerne's skyline. Local legend says that dragons once lived on Pilatus, bringing healing powers and protecting the people. Another tale claims that Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who sentenced Jesus to death, was buried in one of its lakes. For centuries, locals feared the mountain, believing storms would break out if anyone disturbed its waters. On clear days, you can also spot Mount Rigi, known as the Queen of the Mountains. It became one of Europe's first mass tourist destinations after a railway was built in 1871, the oldest mountain railway in Europe. Visitors would travel up in steam trains to watch the sunrise over the Alps, a tradition that continues to this day. As you walk this promenade, imagine the orchestras once playing for evening guests, the carriages passing by, and travelers sketching the scenery in their notebooks. Even today, the spirit of those times lingers. Street performers, boat rides, and the sound of church bells from the city add to the atmosphere. This lakeside path is more than just a place for a stroll. It's a living postcard, connecting Lucerne's past with its present. And now we reach Lucerne's crown jewel, the Chapel Bridge, or Kapellbrücke. Spanning the River Reuss, this covered wooden bridge dates back to 1333 and is the oldest surviving truss bridge in the world. What makes it truly unique are the triangular paintings under its roof. Added in the 17th century, they depict scenes from Swiss history, local saints, and even moral lessons. Walking through the bridge feels like stepping into a gallery of medieval storytelling. The bridge takes its name from nearby St. Peter's Chapel, but its most striking feature is the octagonal water tower that stands proudly beside it. Over the centuries, this tower has served as a prison, a torture chamber, an archive, and even a treasury. Today, it's one of Switzerland's most photographed monuments. Tragically, in August 1993, much of the bridge was destroyed in a fire, likely caused by a discarded cigarette. The flames consumed 2/3 of the structure, and over 80 of the paintings. The people of Lucerne were devastated, but within just 8 months, the bridge was restored with remarkable precision. Today, it once again serves as both a pedestrian crossing and a symbol of resilience. Crossing the Chapel Bridge, you'll notice how it divides the city into two distinct parts. The Old Town on the north bank, with its medieval squares and frescoed houses, and the newer part of the city on the south bank. From here, the view of the river, with swans gliding gracefully along the water, is nothing short of magical. Leaving the bridge behind, we enter the winding streets of Lucerne's Old Town, a maze of alleys that feels like stepping back into the Middle Ages. The first thing you'll notice are the painted facades. Unlike many European cities where frescoes have faded, Lucerne has carefully preserved and restored its house paintings. Each tells a story. Some represent medieval guilds, the bakers, the butchers, the fishermen, while others show saints or mythical creatures. One particularly famous square, vine-marked, was the site of the historic Oath of Lucerne in 1332, when the city officially joined the Swiss Confederation. Strolling here, you might come across hidden courtyards, often decorated with fountains. Many fountains date back to the Renaissance and still provide fresh drinking water. Each is topped with a colorful statue, a knight, a bishop, or a symbolic figure of justice. In the Middle Ages, Lucerne thrived as a trading hub thanks to its location on the Gotthard Pass, one of the most important north-south trade routes in Europe. Merchants from Italy brought silk and spices, while goods from Germany and France passed through on their way to the south. These narrow streets once echoed with the calls of traders and craftsmen. The Old Town is also filled with churches, each with its own history. The Jesuit church, with its white Baroque facade and onion domes, was the first large Baroque church built north of the Alps in the 17th century. Inside, it dazzles visitors with stucco decorations and painted ceilings. But perhaps the greatest charm of Lucerne's Old Town lies in its atmosphere, the sound of footsteps on cobblestones, the mix of local dialects, the smell of roasted chestnuts in winter or fresh flowers in summer, all combine to create a feeling that time moves more slowly here. Take your time as we wander. Notice how every corner seems to hold a story, and how the past and present coexist in harmony. Our journey ends at one of Lucerne's most powerful landmarks, the Lion Monument, or Löwendenkmal. Carved directly into a sandstone cliff in 1821, this sculpture is a memorial to the Swiss Guards who died during the French Revolution of 1792. When revolutionaries stormed the Tuileries Palace in Paris, hundreds of Swiss Guards stood their ground, defending King Louis XVI and his family. Outnumbered and abandoned, nearly 800 were massacred. The monument was commissioned by a fellow officer, Karl Pfiffer von Alteshofen, who survived because he was on leave in Lucerne at the time. The dying lion, pierced by a spear, lies over a shield bearing the fleur-de-lis of France, while beside him rests another shield with the Swiss cross. Above the sculpture is a Latin inscription, Helvetiorum fidei ac virtuti, to the loyalty and bravery of the Swiss. The monument was designed by the Danish sculptor Bertel Thorvaldsen and carved by Lucas Ahorn. Mark Twain, after visiting Lucerne, famously wrote, "The Lion of Lucerne is the most mournful and moving piece of stone in the world. Standing here, it's impossible not to feel the weight of history. The peaceful pond in front of the monument reflects the lion's face, adding to the solemnity. Visitors often fall silent, moved by the expression of pain and dignity carved into the rock." Thank you for joining this walk. May the memory of Lucerne stay with you, just as it has with travelers for centuries.